It's 2 years of leadership by President Muhammadu Buhari in Nigeria. It has become normal now that Nigerians take stock and rate the government based on campaign promises and expectations. This episode of Big Story is for this purpose, to air the views of Nigerians on the level of achievement of the present administration, especially in important areas like the economy, security, and the fight against corruption. You're welcome. I'm Amy John Mekwa.
Through no fault of theirs, some companies shut down their operation. Others downsized, people lost jobs, and had to endure rising food prices. In some states, civil servants worked months on end without the guarantee of a salary, even as rents and school fees and other expenses continued to show up like clockwork.
These are some of the economic realities which Nigerians have been facing in the last couple of years. And incidentally, it's the 2-year period of the present administration, led by President Muhammadu Buhari and assisted by Vice President, now Acting President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. The consequences of these conditions, which have been traced to the fall in global price of crude oil, comes in many phases. Nigeria's consumption prices increased by 17.24% year-on-year in April of 2017, easing slightly from a 17.26% rise in the prior month. The inflation rate fell for the third straight month to the lowest in 9 months, led by a slowdown in prices of housing and utilities as well as transport. The reality is faced by Nigerians such as Mr. and Mrs. Alabi Sunday, who are resident in Bariga area of Lagos. After retirement from the civil service, they have in the last 6 years earned their living by selling food, but not varieties, just beans.
This beans is relished by many, especially school children. It can be eaten with gari or bread.
For the smooth running of the business, the couple say it's jointly owned and run. There's no place for demarcation between the role of a man and a woman.
When
a man is advanced in age, he should support his wife so she doesn't get tired easily.
They say they've been happy and relatively comfortable until recent times when prices have increased.
This costs 2,200 naira. It used to be 1,900 naira. Everything is very expensive now, so the palm oil sellers have also increased the price of oil.
They've also had to evolve a survival strategy.
I have adjusted the quantity of beans to meet up with the high cost of cooking ingredients.
The setting is different, but the complaint is the same in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Lekon Owoduni in Ogba area of Lagos.
There is no more food for common man, because gone in those days I would believe maybe gari, granite is a food for poor man. Now there is nothing for any poor man, because even a plastic of gari that used to cost 150 is now 600-700 naira.
The cost of feeding now, even to feed our dogs. Prior to this time, we're spending about 10,000 naira, 8,000 naira to feed the dogs. But now, she went back to the market the other time, 20-something thousand naira. You want to talk of the cost of fuel? Oh, I don't buy fuel as well. But what I do is I prioritize things. I put the SUV down, ride on B2 or ride on with the car, smaller car with little fuel. When the situation, I'm not selling those cars, but when the situation improves, when I can afford it, I do it. Or I prioritize my movement. I don't just go out anyhow.
Economist Professor Ndubusi Nwokoma of the University of Lagos captures these same observations in his assessment of the present administration.
Because I'm looking at the benchmark that they set for themselves. That is a critical thing we can use for the assessment. The benchmark the government set for itself. When the government came into power 2 years ago, they raised hopes of the ordinary Nigerian. Hopes were raised. they are going to work on the exchange rate to make it $1. These are recorded statements by the candidate then, $1 to $1, that they are going to provide power virtually 24 hours, that they will create about 3 million jobs per year, that they are going to work on the economy, that we should just give them a chance, that there was a lot of corruption, and that and people asked the candidate then, how are you going to do all this? And they said that from the process of corruption will be the gap, that so much money is being stolen, and that once they're able to close the gaps, that they will get the money to provide all these services. So given that kind of benchmark, what was said, and many others, up to about 81 or so promises, which some of them were denied later anyway, but these were documented and they were in the manifesto of the party. And they were clearly there, and they can be produced. And some along the line, the party disowned many of those claims or those promises and said that they were going to focus on three. Okay, security, corruption, and then the economy. Those are the three areas. So if you look at even those three areas in which the government proclaimed that they are going to solve, we find that there are problems with all the three. On the three, there are problems. And, so if I look at that kind of background, you can find out that the performance of the government is not satisfactory.
But this is not to say that the government has not taken steps to buffer the unfriendly economic conditions. One of such is the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, the ERGP, a medium-term document to cover 2017 to 2020. The ERGP has three broad strategic objectives: restoring growth, investing in people, and building a globally competitive economy. To achieve these objectives, including 7% growth by 2020, the federal government has earmarked